Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to a Godot tutorial video. In this tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to use Godot's animation node to create an animated character. And it will look something like this. This video is going to be made in collaboration with GDQuest. I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description. He is currently doing a Kickstarter for a Godot engine course for beginners, so be sure, I'll have a link to that in the description as well. Be sure and check that out if that sounds like something you'd be interested in. Let's get started. So first, I'm going to open up the Godot engine and I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to browse my project path, go into projects, create a new folder, and name this Bat Animation. Press open and create. Okay, here we go. Open up your project. In the tutorial, we won't be using Godot's skeletal animation system. It does have a skeletal animation system, but we're going to keep this pretty simple. Once you've opened up into the engine, go into 2D, and we need to copy our bat resources into our folder here. So I'm actually open up folders and click on desktop, and I've got the bat images right here. I'm going to do Control C. Then I'm going to go into Documents, and let's see, where is it? Godot, Projects, Bat Animation, and paste it right in here. Okay. Then it should show up in our folder here. We can click on Bat, and here are all of the different pieces to this bat. Now the easy thing to do here is click on all of the images. And well, first actually we need to create a base node over here. So let's create a node, and we'll do a node 2D, and we'll name it bat sprite. And I'm going to create another node here, which will also be a node 2D, and I'm going to name this base. And that will be the base position of the bat. The reason we're doing that is because that will allow us to move the entire bat around without actually moving the base node here. So once we've done that, we can click on this node right here, select all of our images, and click and drag them into the scene and drop them, and it will put all of our images inside of the scene like that. Now another benefit here is that these nodes are this is way too huge. This is a pretty good sized room right here, you can see, but these sprites are gigantic compared to this room. So the easy way to fix this, we could scale all our images down. That would work too, especially if you're trying to save memory. But just for the sake of this video, I'm just going to scale the base node right here. So we can come into our scale. I'm going to do something like 0.2. And that's still pretty big, so maybe just 0.1 will half that. And there we go. Now we've scaled our node down. So we've got a more manageable bat size here. Now the base that we want is going to be the torso. So I'm going to drag that to the very top. The torso is going to be the base of our bat. Attached to the torso, we're going to attach the head. So drag that onto the torso. We're going to attach both of the wings, the far wing and the close wing. Far wing, close wing to the torso. And the foot, we may actually drag in another foot because we've only got one. So we'll do that. Drag in one more foot object and attach it to, well, we want to make sure we only have the foot selected, and make sure you've selected the base. Drag in the foot. Okay, there. And it scaled the foot down automatically to match the base's scale because it's a child of the base. So we'll name this one close foot and this one far foot. And I'm actually going to remove the spaces between these right here. If you name your sprites correctly, then you wouldn't have to worry about doing that. So we're going to attach the close ear to the head and the far ear to the head, and then we'll attach both feet to the torso as well. There we go. Now we've got all of the sprites organized in our tree right here, but we need to move them so that they match up. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the head. Well, I'm going to hide a lot of these things. So let's hide the ears. We'll hide all the wings and the feet. So now we've got the head right here and the torso right there. So I'm going to put the head right about there on our torso. I'm going to grab the torso and move it up because in this scene we're going to pretend like this horizontal line right there is the ground. Okay? Because this is position 0, 0 right here. So we're going to act like that's the ground. Or you can center your character on that line too. That works too. So maybe we'll just do that. Okay, so we've got the head in a decent position. And the origin of the current sprite that you're selected on is this little plus right there. To move this origin, you just press V on the keyboard. So I can move it down there because we want the head to rotate around that. Don't worry too much about rotation yet. And for the torso here, we might want it more centered like this. We'll move that to about center right there. Okay, let's unhide the ears. So we got a close ear and a far ear. So here's the far ear and here's the close ear. So we want to put the origin for both of our ears right here, like at the base of the ear. Maybe more like there. We'll do that for this one as well. Now the far ear, we want it to be behind the head. And so the way you can do this is you can come down here in the properties for this. And if you scroll all the way down, there should be a property called behind parent. You can just press on. And now this ear is behind the head. Now, in order to rotate a sprite, you'll just hold Control and then click and drag, and that allows you to rotate it. So we can put our ear kind of like right there. We can grab this ear and rotate it down a little bit too, and put it right about here. And there we've got our bat with the ears. Looking good. Let's unhide the wings. Okay, we've got the close wing and the far wing right here. So we'll put the close wing right about here. And we're actually going to move the head. We want the head to be in front of all of the rest of these objects right here. So if we hide the children to the head right here and then click and drag, we can move the head to the bottom of our tree, and that will put the head in front of the wings, and that's what we want. So make sure that your wings have an origin, a pivot point, I guess you could call it, somewhere around here for both of them. And we can move them. We want this wing to be, the far wing to be behind its parent as well. So find behind parent down here, move it behind the parent. And the front wing we can put right about there. Something like this. Okay, now let's show both of the feet. And you can move them. If you're having a hard time clicking on one, like say you're trying to click on this foot and you accidentally click on the head, you can actually select this right here, and it makes sure that, or select this right here, which will lock the head, and then you will no longer be able to click on the head, and it will allow you to click on whichever one you want. And if you want to unlock it, you can just click here. But I can click this down here. So I'm going to move that back leg. Obviously, we're going to do behind parent for the, oh, that's the far. I got them mixed up. This is the close foot. This is the far foot. So we'll put this one behind. And I don't know, maybe I'll move the origin just a little bit on these. Something like that. And we've got our bat character all pieced together now. Now we can save this scene. So we're just going to do Control S, and that will save the scene. And batsprite.tscn should work just fine, because this is just going to be the sprite for our image. Now there's a little bit of a, you can see there's a little bit of a soft effect on our sprite. I think if we select all of them by holding shift like that, well, no, because we have to go into each individual texture. But you could come into a texture like, say, the head. If you come into the head texture right here and you want to remove that edge, you can come into the flags. I just click this little arrow over, come into the flags. You could turn off filter, and that will help remove some of that. The map, we don't really need maps either, but you can see that gets rid of that soft kind of edge on the sprite. You could do it with every single one here. The better way to do this, and I forgot to do this, but the better way to do this is you can set the defaults inside of the import properties so that it doesn't do this. But for now, I'm just going to do it manually. Okay, there we go. Save again. Did I not get the torso correct? I feel like I missed the torso. Yeah, I did. There we go. Okay, now they all look really good. Much cleaner. Now it's time to animate. So what we're going to do is get we're going to add a new node to the scene, but make sure that you've clicked the bat sprite base node, because when you add a new node, it will select it will add it as a child of your selected node, and we want this to be a child of the bat sprite base node. I'm just going to right click and do add child node. Up here at the top, I'm going to search animation, and we'll use animation player. Okay, when you click on that node, it's going to open up an animation player right down here. This base pose, we want to save this pose, so we're going to create a new animation right here and just call it base, and that will be our base pose. And then we're not going to actually do anything with it, but this just saves the pose that we have this in case we mess something up. We can just come into this animation and move this, and it will remember our base pose. It'll put everything back to the base pose. Okay. Now what we're going to do is click on this again and create another animation, and we'll just call this fly. And in this animation, we're okay using, this is your timeline for the animation down here, and you can key whatever you want. So if you come into the properties of any of your nodes, you can actually see all these little keys. You can key whatever you want and animate basically whatever you want inside the animator. Obviously we'd want to click on a sprite that we wanted to animate. So let's say you wanted to swap out a texture to give the bat a different face, a different facial expression at a certain point in your animation. You could actually key that and animate that in here as well to create some really cool effects. The animation player inside of the Godot engine is quite powerful, and it's pretty fun to use and easy to use as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create some extreme poses. And you should remember that this is not a tutorial on animation itself. I am not a professional animator. I do have some experience animating and I do a decent job, but I'm not a professional. And so just remember, this isn't a tutorial on animation. So if the animation kind of sucks at the end, don't worry, that's not really what this is about. So we're going to grab, let's see, we need to key some poses. We want to key location and rotation, and you can see those are automatically set up here. So we can just press the key button, and it looks like insert might be the quick key in order to do that if we wanted to do that. But we can just press this little key up here when we want to key a pose. So let's take the wings, and I'm going to rotate the wings and bring them up like this. Okay. And then I'm going to actually bring the head kind of down just a little bit. And maybe move the foot out just a little bit. And then if you want to key your pose, you want to make sure that you select everything. So I'm going to select torso all the way down here. And make sure that you don't have one of these, I guess, hidden like this, or it actually won't select it. So we'll select this, torso, all the way down to here and press key. And it says create 16 new tracks and insert keys. Yes, create those. So that's going to create this key, and you can see it gives us information about these. We've got the base, torso, head, transform, rotation, base, torso, head, transform, position. And it's keyed both of those. Now we're going to create our next frame, which is going to be right here at about halfway. So we'll just move these down, grab the wings and move them down like this. Move the feet down as well. We'll move the head back up a little bit. And we can key this position. Select everything over here and just press key. Okay, and you can see it will interpolate between those two positions. Now, down here, there's actually a loop that you can turn on. I think it's this button right here. Click that to enable looping, and it should loop between the two. You can actually press play here in the editor and watch this animation. That's not a very good animation, but we've got the basics in there. So let's add a little bit of movement to this. So we want to key, for example, when we're flapping downward like this, we might have the character be moving down. So if we grab the base right here, the torso or the base, you want to use the base. So let's click on the base because we're only going to be keying the movement of the entire bat right now. So click on the base because that will select the entire bat, and then click this so we can't select the children. That'll prevent us from selecting any of the children. We can only select the base. So we're going to move down just a little bit here and key this frame. Key it. Yep. And then we're going to move just past this on our timeline. So we were we one thing? Yeah, we're one thing past our previous frame. We're going to go one past the other frame and move this one up just a little bit like this. And key that. And see how that looks. And we've got a little bit of movement there. And it's not the best, but it's pretty good. So now, inside of your animations, you can select these keys right here. And you can change their curve. And I think it's this, or let's see, this one right here. Continuous, linear, cubic, maybe. So if we try changing, yeah, it changed both of these to cubic. It's a little bit difficult to see, but it's a little bit more of a smooth motion. Let's see. Oops, I accidentally ran the scene, which isn't what we want to do. We want to come back to animation and press play. And that will smooth the motion quite a bit. Notice how the up and down is a lot smoother now. And you could actually do that with all of your keyframes. So let's stop this animation. And I think you can actually just select stuff like this. Yeah, there we go. Although I think it only selects the one inside the view. But if you hold shift, you can select multiple keyframes. There might be an easier way to select all of those, I'm not sure. Okay, so we selected them all. Although that doesn't really matter because I think you still have to do it one by one anyways over here. But let's just make them all cubic instead of linear. and this will just make the motion for the animation a lot smoother. Notice how it just looks a lot smoother now. That's a pretty good animation, considering how long it took us to do that. It's a pretty decent little enemy animation. And it's a lot of fun to play around with. Let's stop this animation if I press the right button here. And if you want to stop watching the video right now, that's fine. I really appreciate your support. If you liked it and learned something from it, be sure and give it a like. I'm going to take just a few more minutes and actually polish the animation a little bit just because it's kind of fun. And so you guys can see a little bit more of how I go about doing stuff like this. And so if you want to stick around and watch that, you can as well. So let's get started. I want the wing or the ears to have a little bit more motion. So we have to unselect this right here to allow us to select the children again. And when it starts moving up, we actually want to add a slight delay. In the same way that we delayed the movement of the body coming up, we'll delay the movement of the ears kind of flapping down. So I'm going to go 2 frames past this right here, and I'm going to grab the ears, and I'm going to move them down like this. I'm going to select both of them and then key the frames. You only technically need to key the elements that you're currently that you move. So I'm only keying the ears in this case. I'm not actually keying any of the rest of the sprites that we have. Then I'm going to go 2 frames past here and actually kind of grab the ears individually and switch them around so they're kind of a little bit higher, like this. And then obviously key them again and see how that affects our animation. And it feels a little bit too delayed to me. You know, that's just my personal opinion. So the cool thing about this is, let's say we have our ears right here, because these are the ears, and we feel like they're too delayed. Oops. Well, that just showed you what I can do, but you can actually select all of these frames and just move them over by 1. And by doing that, it sets the ears to have less delayed motion. I think part of the problem here too is that we still have the keyframes of the ears at this position, because remember we keyed everything. So you might go through and select these keyframes and actually delete them, because they're affecting our new keyframes that we have here. And so we can try to see how that goes. And maybe it needed to be more delayed. I don't know. Or maybe it needs to be less delayed. Maybe it needs to come like right before the end. I wonder how that would look. That looks pretty good. You know, and you can just mess around with stuff like this pretty easy to see what you want to happen. Maybe we don't want to delay the air movement at all. I see what's actually happening here. The air movement is actually reversed. You can see we accidentally moved one of them outside the frame, so it then didn't animate it. But I wonder if we can go one before and see. Yeah, so what I've done is I've actually reversed the air movement. So the way that we would fix this actually is by selecting only these frames right here and dragging them and putting them a single frame after, then grabbing these frames and putting them, we can swap them. And you can have them move at the same speed. I don't know. The air movement might be a little bit too strong, but you get the idea. The kind of things that you can do with this pretty easily and just by moving frames around. And there we've got a little bit of an offset. What have I done? Oh, I actually messed up one of the far wings. I kind of made it like a lame bat, like it was hurt, you know? I honestly think this, I did it again. Just hit Control Z to undo. Yeah, I'm grabbing the wings. There we go. But that looks pretty good. One other thing that you might do is add just a little bit of bounce to the torso, which can be fun. So if we come to our torso's position right here, we say, okay, let's actually make it so that we can't select the children. Oh no, this is too much of a pain because we've made all these objects a child of the torso. But what you could do is if you wanted to make the torso kind of bounce up and down a little bit more and oscillate at a different time than the rest of the, like maybe the head or something, or even the feet, you can do that. And maybe just doing the feet will give enough of an idea of what we'd be looking for. But if we come to the foot right here and we say, okay, let's grab the feet right here, and let's make them move at a slightly different timing than everything else, you know, just to see what that looks like. You can just affect the timing of how that works. So it looks like the motion maybe doesn't all go at once, you know? They kind of move at different times. Anyways, there you go. This is my animation tutorial video. That's about all I'm going to do for this one. Don't want to spend too much time on it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and learned something from it. Give it a like and a thumbs up. Be sure and check out GD Quest's YouTube channel and his Kickstarter. He's a great guy and interested in helping out the game development community. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later.